Dr. Gupta is an interventional cardiologist and director professor of cardiology at the GB Pant Hospital, New Delhi. He also serves as cardiologist to the Parliament of India. He received his medical degree from the University College of Medical Sciences, Delhi, followed by residency and training in internal medicine and cardiology at Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi. Dr. Gupta is an elected fellow of the American College of Cardiology, the European Society of Cardiology, Royal College of Physicians, Edinburgh, and the Cardiological Society of India. As a clinical scientist, he has served as principal investigator for multiple international research trials with key interests in genetics of hypertension and premature coronary artery disease, cardiovascular disease in young adults, long-term cardiovascular effects of COVID-19, application of artificial intelligence in cardiovascular research and integrative cardiology, including the adjunctive role of meditation and consciousness-based interventions. He has authored over 150 peer-reviewed publications in national and international journals and is actively involved in translational and preventive cardiology research. His current work includes exploring the impact of Raja Yoga meditation on biological aging and cardiovascular resilience. Dr. Gupta has received honors for clinical excellence, research, and education, including Lifetime Achievement Awards, National Innovation Awards in Cardiology, and Eminent Teacher Awards. Beyond medicine, Dr. Gupta is a keynote and leadership speaker known for bridging neuroscience, cardiology, thought power, and spirituality. He has delivered talks at Oxford and Cambridge universities and to audiences across academia, government, and industry. Dr. Gupta has been with the Brahma Kumaris since childhood and practices Raja Yoga meditation daily. His work integrates evidence-based medicine with ancient wisdom. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gupta.
Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much. It's truly pleasure to be here. And how wonderful is drama? How wonderful is this world, that despite being in Dallas, we are connecting virtually. That's the power of nature. And that's the beauty. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Om Shanti to all of you. And thank you so much to all of you for taking out your time on this wonderful, cold, cozy Saturday morning in USA. And it was just a lovely coincidence. I was invited and nominated by the American College of Cardiology to represent India in the Leadership Summit that is happening in Washington next week. And I thought it will be a great idea to travel a couple of places more. This is my third time in US, and so I thought that I must come to Dallas with my cousins living here, and then more than that, my whole Brahma Kumari family, which is here. This is wonderful to catch up with you guys. Then I'm going to Florida for a couple of programs, and there are some programs which I liked in Washington and New Jersey, and this is how the whole tour is going on. And what is more important is that how we are using our own mind power, our own inner power to create our destiny. And in today's session, I'm not going to load you or motivate you. People often call other people as a motivational speaker. And I believe nobody in this world truly can motivate anyone. Only power that we are gifted with God is to inspire somebody. The only person who can motivate you is your own self. And we get inspired by listening to certain life changing experiences. And I'm going to summarize my almost 40 years of spiritual journey with Brahma Kumaris. And after reading so many scriptures throughout my life, in next 1 hour. And let me tell you, spirituality is something as that is not just narrated or not just read in scriptures or something, but this is something that you live. This is something that you imbibe in your life. This is something that you decorate your lives with. And when you are using this power, this can truly be life changing and life transforming for somebody. So let us start this wonderful journey. And I just request that keep your videos on if it is possible and if it is convenient to you, so that I know my you guys are all along with me. It will be very inspiring and lovely for me. So switch on your videos. It's lovely to see you all. And let us go ahead and start this. And keep a copy and pen if you want. The things are going to make a lot of sense to you. You can note down many things. And let us start with this wonderful journey. So, creating your conscious future by the power of your thoughts. That is what we all are gifted with. Here we go. So, we all are truly living in a VUCA world. And we all know that situations today, look at the weather, it's very volatile, it's uncertain. Life is turning more and more complex. We have designed technology truly to simplify our lives. And today, the same technology is practically consuming us, our own energy, and making our lives truly more complex. And all volatility, uncertainty, complexity makes our life and our behaviors of people very ambiguous. And that is why VUCA is the new world in which truly we are living. And that is what makes us very vulnerable. That is what makes our behavior very vulnerable. We never used to have these kind of motivation sessions or inspiring sessions a decade or a couple of decades earlier. But why do we need? Because of the change of behavior that we are observing in our life. And let me show you, each one of you who has joined, just examine this situation. And that will actually make you understand that how we are not in control of our own self. People very rightly say that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. But what is the problem? The problem is in this word called reaction. Once we learn and train ourselves to react, reaction is often instantaneous. It's a burst, it's often emotional, it's unbalanced, and also it's judgmental, and quite often it is negative also. And let me explain to you how we have learned to react in the present situation. Look at this typical traffic situation. This is a typical traffic that we often face in Delhi. And let me put you all through a situation. Suppose 150, 200 of us, we are called for a meeting at a particular place. And when we leave for that particular meeting, this is the kind of traffic that we all encounter. Now, my question to you is very simple. We have to reach meeting on time. Unfortunately, we are stuck up in this traffic. The simple question is, if 150 of us in our own individual cars are stuck up in this traffic, will we all behave in the same way or will we behave in a different way? What's your answer? You can type it in the chat box, of course. Almost all of you will say that our behavior will be different for each one of us in this situation. 95% of us would get irritated. Oh, this is not the way. I have to reach for a meeting on time. I'm stuck up in this traffic. What should I do? Some of us, out of those 95%, will get a little more angry. And some of us, in those 95%, lose our temper, lose our control, and this is what is often called as a road rage. So we see a graded behavioral response by all of us, and this is all happening in our own mind. But let me tell you, Out of those 150 people who are stuck up, 5% of us remain absolutely cool. They have no effect. Absolutely. They say that we can't help if the traffic is there. We'll be able to reach for a meeting only when the traffic settles. And they choose and train their mind to remain calm in this situation, isn't it? This is what happens for all of us. Now, my question to you is look at this. For all 150 to 100 people of us, the situation was absolutely same. The situation was absolutely same. But the way we behaved in this situation was completely different for all of us. So, logically, who is responsible for our response? Who is responsible for our response? Was the situation responsible or we are responsible? You can answer in the chat box. And I do understand all of you will say, no doubt, situation being same for everybody, we were responsible for our response. That is where the truth, the essence, the magic, and the control of life lies. This is what I want you, all of you, to understand that situations are same for everyone. It like a typical traffic. It could be a cold weather, it could be a personal turmoil, it could be a familial turmoil, it could be anything, it could be a professional level of dilemma. But the way we behave in that particular situation is our own conscious choice. And let me tell you, today, science has shown that 95% of us are working in a autopilot mode, a reactive behavior. This is what happens if somebody is blaming somebody. Oh, this is not the way you should be doing it. You are always wrong. You don't try to analyze these things. This is not the way things should be. And the person will immediately, without the letting the other person complete, react, not respond, react like a needle, like a stimulus given, and say, don't lecture me. You also do the same way. This is not the way things are going to work out. And this is what is called living your life in an autopilot and a reactive behavior. That is why our relations, our professional secrets, our personal life is going doldrums today because we have lost control over our own inner mind. Now, to change this autopilot or a reactive behavior to a mindful behavior, what we need is only one thing. And this one thing is where the secret of our life, of our relaxation lies. And this one thing is creating a pause in our life. We have forgotten to create a pause in our life. The moment we want to change our reactive behavior to a mindful behavior, the single fact that can completely change our life is creating a pause in our life, that is taking out time in our life. The moment we take a pause, the quality of our thoughts goes up, the number of our thought decreases, and the speed of our thought also decreases. So when our thoughts are slow, when our thoughts are less, our analysis, our behavior is more powerful, is more proactive, is more decisive, and is more logical. So this is where your whole world is lying, my dear friends. Irrespective of what you are doing, what you are practicing, this is the essence of life. Situations will be coming from family. Situations and people will be coming challenging you in your social life. They will not be according to the way you want them to be. Look at the nature. 2 days back, the weather in Dallas was superb, sunny weather, people wearing half t-shirts, enjoying, relaxing, and 2 days, suddenly you face a challenge and find yourself locked in your home. Challenges from the nature, professional challenges, the challenges by the government policies. Everywhere you are faced by numerous challenges. And my question to you, to all of you, listen to this. If you want to have a comfortable life, there are only two ways. You change your family, you change your social circle, you ask nature to behave properly, you change the policies of the government, you change your profession. That is one way of dealing with all the situations. And the other one is right there in the center, you empower and change your own self. Change the way you think. And when you are changing, everything outside changes. So, which one do you think is more appropriate, more logical, and more balanced? Logically, it says that second option. You obviously can't change people, family, and situations every time. But one person who is completely in control of you is your own inner self. And that is, my dear friends, what is called much above the emotional intelligence, much above the intellectual intelligence, much above the spiritual intelligence is what is called as the adversity quotient. Adversity quotient. What does spirituality do? What does meditation do? It increases, it improves your adversity quotient. And how does it help you? Adversity quotient is your ability to withstand difficult situations, your ability to handle adversities, your ability to handle difficult and adverse behaviors of people, and yet remaining productive, yet remaining capable, and more so, yet remaining calm throughout the journey. So, my dear friends, this is all about creating your inner calm. Today, if we want to change situations and people outside, the only thing that we need to focus, the only thing that we need to understand and improve on is our own inner self. And today, this is what I'm going to show to you. This is what I'm going to prove to you. This is what I'm going to give you highlight. We're supposed to have a retreat though. So what I have done is I've nurtured and knitted down my own life journeys into a very beautiful and small introductory talk. And that will make you understand that how by changing your own thought, you can actually create your own conscious future. What does National Science Foundation studies from Stanford tells us? It tells us that 90% of these 50 to 70,000 thoughts that we are generating today are repetitive, are waste, or are negative thoughts. Imagine if more than 90 to 95% of our thoughts are repetitive, waste, and negative, that only goes on to prove the quality of life that we are having. Our life is completely in turmoil. Why? Because it's our thoughts that are creating our behavior. It's the way we think is the way we behave. And the way we behave is the way we make others people feel. And the way we feel is how and what is generating our physical reaction. And so it's logical to understand that irrespective of the situation, everything outside is completely a consequence of what I am thinking. If you are thinking positive, if you are thinking good, if you're in a good mood, if you are happy, your behavior has to be positive. Your feelings have to be powerful. You are going to be physically very proactive and you're going to make other people comfortable. But if negative thoughts, you are going to have irritable behavior, your feelings are going to be negative and adverse, and you are going to make other people very comfortable. And this is what happened with me, my dear friends. In this if session, I'm going to make you understand that how leading a turbulent journey, having a turbulent life and situations pounding and pricking you from all these sides, still remaining and maintaining inner calm can completely change our life. So this is my story, my dear friends. Get ready for one of the most revealing journeys of your life. Today, what you're going to hear is something that I have lived and something that has shaped and designed my life. Something that I've learned over time, that how these six stories have made me into a better person, into a more comprehensive person to lead my life more in a more fulfilling way. So I started my journey like you guys only once upon a time, like a little kid who was full of joy, full of happiness. And this is my picture almost 45 years back, when I was enacting a play like a teacher in my school with a lot of innocence, a lot of purity, a lot of joy, love, and happiness. This is what our life used to be when we were a kid. We were a kid, and I was no different. As kids, we all are very pure and innocent in our life. But a day came when I, like you all, was also programmed. It's good to be pure, it's good to be innocent, my dear friend, but you must learn to chase success. You must learn to run after success. And I was no different. I also started running after success. Being a good and a great student in school, I cleared both IIT, both my medical school. I was a good student in my medical school with almost topping in the university in all 5 semesters, 18 gold medals, 5 silver medals. I could attract success normally. I did my MD medicine. I completed my MD medicine and from Delhi only, and then flew to America way back in 2001. Was came here to present my paper in Atlanta, DDW, and joined John Hopkins for fellowship in gastroenterology. I was doing good, very happy, perfect life. Success was naturally coming to me. Didn't like it. Flew back to India, left everything in US, and then did my cardiology and became one of the youngest cardiologists in the country. And this is how my life was going on. But one day came in my life that changed my life forever. And that was my first story that taught me that how by changing your thoughts, how by changing your belief system, you can completely change your body programming. You can actually heal yourself out of serious diseases also. So in my MBBS school, I always had multiple questions. Why meditation? Why and what's the role of it? We are all people of science and we believe in only scientific experiments and study. But do our thoughts really have a power in healing? And despite following spirituality, I was to some level scientifically atheist because I believe that science is obviously more powerful than spirituality. But one day that completely shaped and changed the way I used to think was almost 20th March 2003. And it was way back when, after 1.5 days operating in my operation theater, I came back. And it was on Friday, I remember I came back and my mother gynecologist offered me a meal. I was unusually tired. I said, no, I would like to take rest. Very tired, having severe headache. I took a 2 hour rest, and when I got up, she handed a cup of ice cream at 7:30 p.m. in the night. And to my surprise, the moment I took that ice cream cup, within 15 to 20 seconds, 30 seconds, I collapsed on the floor of my house, throwing massive seizures. And I was in a semi-conscious stage. And my whole world came collapsing in front of me. Suddenly, my money, suddenly, my position, my power, all my treasures had no meaning for me in my life. And being rushed to the hospital the whole night. Doctors were trying to control my seizures and everything, nothing working. And next day, when I regained my consciousness, my scans were done. And look at this, I had a large infective mass in the right side of my brain. And I was diagnosed to have a multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. 19 medicines were available at that time in the whole world, and I was resistant to 18 of them. My samples went to CDC Atlanta, and the analysis showed that only one drug was working on my brain. Empirically, I was given 16 tablets in a single day, which every day I used to consume. My day started with consuming 8 tablets in the morning and ended with 8 tablets in the evening. And I was given almost one of the most toxic injections, amikacin. Every day, anesthetist would come and take a prick on my hand, a millimeter by millimeter, millimeter by millimeter, moving up. I received 150 injections of amikacin, and those injections took away my hearing from me also. A lot of pain I had. A lot of suffering was there, but I never allowed my mind to go down. In that whole journey, I wrote a book on cardiology also. I knew I cleared my DM cardiology exam also, and this ended up in a major brain surgery on 2005. But one question that was bothering me, one question that was really troubling me on 21st March 2003 was, why me? Why this has happened with me. A person who was happy, a person who had achieved everything in life, a person who had money, he had position, he had power, he had prestige, he had privilege, everything in his life. Why I ended up in such a big disaster? And the reason was very obvious. It was lack of balance. The work and life balance was lost in my life. While I was running and earning in my life, enjoying life was equally important. Enjoyment is not just about vacations. Enjoyment is not just about buying things. Enjoyment is about the human touch in your families, the human touch in your relations, the spiritual empowerment, nurturing your soul, learning to enjoy your own self was what was more important that I had lost somewhere in my life. In this whole never ending race of the world, I had made a mess out of my life, turning it into a complex network. God has made our life very simple and straightforward. It's very simple. The more we give, the more we receive. The amount of joy we give to others, the happiness we give to others is what we are going to receive in turn. And this is how our whole life goes. But unfortunately, our own complex thinking makes us run every day in something that I often call as an emergency mode, something that meeting deadlines, that targets, that working that we have to do. And this takes away our whole essence of joy. And I knew that I had to bring a change in my life. If I don't change, the change is not going to occur. And that is the day I started changing my own life. Ultimately, this ordeal ended up in a major brain surgery on 20th June 2005, and my right portion of brain, the parietal lobe, practically was taken out, and still I was put on 16 tablets, and I thought, now I'm going to be absolutely fine. I started working, I rejoined my hospital, I was improving, but what happened was only 6 months later. Look at the scans done on 3rd January 2006. I started developing headache again, and I was losing my posture. And when my scans were done, the older lesion had gone, was surgically removed. But look at this, what happened. Another lesion had appeared in my lower brain, the cerebellum, and this was really disastrous. Why? Because this was not amenable to surgery. Surgeons refused to operate it. I was already on the optimal treatment. The doctors across globe, America, Dr. Rajeshwari Bangalore, AIMS, Dr. Reddy, all the guys treating me, designing my regimes, but nothing working on my brain, and I could see myself trapped in the net of death again. I was seeing my fate to my closest, and I knew if I have to come out of this disease, I have to search for new ways. I have to go out and look for better options. When science was not giving me any options and I was practicing meditation, I took up to something that is called as spirituality. And what I did was I took up to Raj Yoga meditation. I remember that Wednesday of January 2006, I went to one of the very senior Raj Yogis of Brahma Kumaris. She was additional chief. And I had a very lovely discussion with her. My simple thought was that why this is happening with me? How do I go ahead? I am already taking a lot of medicines. Nothing is working on my brain. How should I improve on my own self? How can I heal myself? And her words were very simple. And she said, Mohit, you must understand the power of mind that you are gifted with. And if you meditate, you use this power, you can actually heal yourself. So use your own mind power to complement your medicines with medications, and you will be able to heal yourself. And this is what I did. I said, I'm going to do it with all odds against me, my people, my friends discouraging me. I being a scientist myself, I being a cardiologist myself, I took a powerful decision and I started meditating, focused meditation on my brain from 4th January 2006, getting up 3 a.m. in the morning. And the technique that I used was very simple. It was counterclockwise aging. I started changing my own brain. I started creating my own brain very, very well. And what I did was I reimagined myself. I recreated myself. I revisualized myself as a very powerful energy. And I was creating my own image as if I'm perfectly fine. And what I did was I used to do a very powerful focus meditation for my brain, rejecting the disease out of my brain and creating and feeling that I'm going to be perfect. January 2006, starting were my scan, and when 1 year later, after a consistent meditation and using medicines, when my scans were repeated in April 2007, the lesion had practically disappeared from my brain, completely cleaned off without any surgery. And people called it miracle. I called it the power to heal yourself by neuroplasticity. And this is what I want to tell you as first, as a scientist. as a doctor, as a person who has treated not thousands, lakhs, and millions of people over the last 30 years, over 3 decades, I must tell you that we and our body is working like an orchestra. With 50 trillion cells in our body, each cell is individually capable to work powerfully. But when our mind is working and giving a powerful command, the 50 trillion cells of our body, they lose their individual intelligence. And what it does was it can completely reprogram your brain and body for health. And this is what is called neuroplasticity. Look at this. What I want to tell you, if you really want to change your life, if you want to really design your life, if you really want to carve your life for something which is new, what you need to do is use a simple, powerful thought created. Within 17 seconds of creating a powerful thought, you get a new neuron, a new pathway. And when you enter into a 5 repetitive cycles, that means within 17 seconds after that, when you are repeating your thought again and again, again and again, what it does was it starts hardwiring that pathway in your brain. And when you are repeating it, it strengthens it. And within 21 days of repetition, you get a whole new pathway. And that pathway which you are not using get weakens and redundant. Look at this repetition, consistency, and belief is the key. Today, we are using these techniques, the programming techniques for healing our brain, for healing our body, believing, creating your own self. I must ask you all to go through the experiments of counterclockwise aging by Dr. Ellen Langer. What she did was fantastic experiment. You know, 70, 75, 80-year people who were suffering from thyroid, from hypertension, from various diseases, they were taken on a vacation home outside in America. And what she did was she created the same situations they used to live in 40 years back in their childhood. That means old age. And when they were completely healthy, there was no pain, no hypertension, no arthritis, no glaucoma, everything was fine, and made them live in that environment for almost 2 weeks. And to our surprise, you would be shocked that the results were phenomenal. And what they showed was when you start recreating your brain, imagining your own body to be as healthy as it is before, with belief and consistency, you got their blood pressure and their arthritis started improving significantly. And this science is called counterclockwise aging. You can rewire your body. What I want to say is very simple. You can completely wire your brain, and when your brains are getting rewired, practically your whole body physiology gets rewired. And the underlying ingredient is the power of belief. So my dear friends, my first story very beautifully tells you that by changing your thoughts, complementing your science with spirituality, you can actually heal your body and heal your own self in a magical and a powerful way. And let me share my second story. And second story was on the essence of healing. It changed the way I practiced. It changed. And this is what is the beauty of meditation. Raj Yoga meditation is not, it tells you that when you consider yourself more than a doctor as a healer, you just don't treat the body, you also take care of their emotions, of their mindset, of their spirit, of their soul, of their psyche, of their physiology. And this was a story that completely changed the way I used to practice and taught me the essence of healing. It was 2018 evening cath lab, and I was working and I was about to leave for my hospital. And suddenly, I leave my hospital after operating and having a full busy day, and suddenly a young 22-year-old boy, pulseless, BP-less, and ECG flatline with a massive cardiac arrest, was brought to my operation theater. I was being resuscitated. And I was asked, Dr. Gupta, you have to operate this patient. I said, nothing is left in this patient. What am I going to do? And they very politely and gently said, please do your best for this particular patient. I said, okay. And I took up the patient in my operating theater. And, we angiographed him. All three coronary arteries were blocked. We started resuscitating resuscitating him. And after 1.5, 2 hours, I was able to restore the flow in all the arteries. But to my surprise, we could achieve a blood pressure of only 50 to 60 millimeters of mercury. And my mind was telling me it's very difficult that he is going to make it. But somewhere in my heart, I had a feeling that he might just make it. And I shifted him to the ICU on the ventilator and artificial pacing system. And you would be surprised that next day when I went for rounds, that young boy was absolutely conscious and oriented, lying in his bed, and practically no support he was needing, ready to be extubated. Relatives happy, doctors happy, everybody happy. I was also pleased that we were able to save life of a young boy. But probably that was one of the most disturbing days for me as a doctor, as a spiritual person, because I thought that why a young guy who's a non-smoker, non-diabetic, non-hypertensive, and no family history, lipids and blood pressure absolutely normal, would have a heart attack. I thought I must talk to this guy, his family. He was married for 2 years, had a 4-month-old daughter. I went to his father and asked him to call his wife. And you know what he said? He just said that this his wife is not going to come. I said, why? He said that they have filed for divorce papers, and this is the last month. After 1 month, they are going to separate from each other. Now imagine. Imagine, this is the last thing I would have expected to hear from that old gentleman. And he said, whatever you want to ask, ask me. I said, no. I very frozen in that moment, again coming to back to my own self. I said, please, with folded hands, give a call to that young girl. This is not the way things are. I would like to speak to both of them. And reluctantly, they called that young girl, explained her the incident, and she came running there with her 4-month-old lovely daughter. I made them both sit in the ICU, asked everybody to leave. The young boy is still on monitor, and I started talking to them. What's going on wrong in your life? Huh? This is not the way you're going to lead your life. And look at this, what he said. He said, sir, we both earn a six-digit salary. We drive a luxury car. We have a four-bedroom plush apartment. But for last more than a year, 2 years, we have never connected well with each other. We've never connected well with each other. We never had time to sit with each other, to talk to each other, to understand the emotional and the feelings of each other. It was more of a programmed life. We never had that time to even energize our own self, to sit in silence, to introspect, to empower ourselves. And we thought we must separate from each other. I didn't counsel them. That was not the time of counseling, because the decision for separation they had already taken. I just asked them with my folded hands, a gentle request I made, will you be able to do two things for me only for 1 month? Because this is what you have. And they said, okay, we'll do it. And I asked both of them to have a meal together, every day dinner together with their little one for next 30 days. I said, take out half an hour. Have an e-free dinner. No television, no mobile phone, no internet, nothing. But just have a lovely dinner together, sitting down together and enjoying. And they said, okay, we'll definitely do that. I said, you must connect and listen to each one of you. You must learn to introspect. You must learn to enjoy. You must learn to accept each other, the emotions of each other. They said, we will do that, sir. And the second thing, I requested the young lady that I'm going to discharge your husband 2 days later, but going to see him in OPD only on one condition, that if you hold his hand and bring to my OPD. And she was like surprised. This is not a doctor would be asking somebody to do, his least concern. But I said, please do it for me. She said, okay, only 4 visits. I'll do it for next 1 month. And I discharged the young boy. They started coming to my OPD. They came first week, all smiling. And I typically have more than 500 patients on a single day. That's the volume we deal, and it's the busiest in the Asia, not in India. And that's the kind of OPD. And I used to just smile at them, write them the medicines, and they would come happily. And the 1 week passed, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks into 4 months, and 4 months into 4 years, my dear friends. Their 4-month-old daughter grew into a lovely, beautiful 4-year-old daughter. And Are still coming to my OPD. Now it's almost such a long time, and more so, they have withdrawn their divorce papers. And this is something that has changed my whole perspective. It was one of the happiest moments of my life when I heard that they had changed and withdrawn their divorce papers. And that is the time I truly learned that healing is not just about giving a good procedure or medicines to each other. We all can be great healers, even if we are not doctors, because healing is all about our own mindset. Raj Yoga meditation tells us only simple ways to connect with our own family, our friends, our professional and personal life with a more human understanding, compassion, love, and peace. That is what we are lacking today. It's all about nurturing and empowering our own relations with a lot of love. People don't need things in life. People need joy and compassion in their life. When we are accepting other people, when we are understanding other people the way they are working, we appreciate them. And when we appreciate them, what happens? We increase their value. We increase their worth, and that is what people love in their life. That is the time I changed the way I used to practice, and we started doing phenomenal experiments, which I have been showing across the globe so many times. you know, I took similar young people, 150 young patients between 18 to 30 years, and all these patients of heart attack who were non-smokers, who were non-diabetics, who were having, and I measured their social, psychosocial stress using validated questionnaires. And look at this, I measured their home, work, and general stress using a 10 question part, and one can never go wrong in that questionnaire. And I took out their blood sample, and what I did was I measured the age of their DNA, of their genes. What is the age of their genes? And the results were absolutely amazing. What I saw was revealing. These 18 to 30 years old young children had their genes which were completely destroyed, and their biologic age was equal to a 60 to 95 years old person. Imagine. Biologic age was equal to 60 to 95 years old person. Their genes were completely destroyed. And why this was happening? Notice factor. We further analyzed and published, going to publish this paper and present it in the European Congress also. We saw that using validated stress questionnaire and WHO well-being score, we saw that 91% of them had highest levels of psychosocial stress in their life. Imagine young people, so-called successful people, with everything they had in their life, they were psychologically disturbed. And what we further analyzed, we saw was those people who are lacking purpose, those people who are stressful, those people who are not having a great purpose, with the domestic violence, with only running after materialistic wealth, they are the people whose telomerase enzyme goes down and their genetic length keeps on getting destroyed. And that is why today the epidemic of depression, of anxiety, the epidemic of heart attacks, of cancers in younger population that is rising both in the eastern and the western world is explained by one of the additional factors that has come up is significant levels of psychosocial stress. This is not what we had bargained our life for. We all wanted joy in our life, but not with things, but with emotions, with connect with our life. On the contrary, what we also saw was those people who had love, who had positive outlook and happiness and gratitude in their life. Those people who had great relations in their life, they are the people whose telomere enzyme was fine and their telomere length was improving. And the good news was this was reversible. Today, we are conducting experiments. In the next paper that we have published, we have shown that by using Raj Yoga meditation, what we saw was the happiness index reversed. The depression index completely got reversed, and what we saw, these people had higher telomere length and their aging was much better, the work life satisfaction was much better. This is the beauty of Raj Yoga meditation. It's all about perspective. It's all about, it is changing the way we are thinking. When you change the way you look at people, people you look at change. When you change the way you look at situations, situations you look at change. And when you change the way you look at things, things you look at change. Life is all about perspective. Meditation gives you a different perspective for life. And that is what Dr. Robert Waldinger showed from Harvard University. One of the most beautiful studies that each one of you must read and Google is the Grant and Blueck study, or what is commonly known as the happiness study. And what did this happiness study show? It showed that when 700 people from Boston, poor and rich, they were tracked both physically and emotionally for 75 years. Mind you, the longest ever study conducted. For 75 years. There was only one secret to fulfilling and happy life. Only one secret. And that secret was to have good relations in our life. This is what true spirituality is all about. It is not just about worshiping God. It's not just about reciting these scriptures. It's not just about going to holy places. It's about creating and imbibing and living those spiritual virtues and values every single moment in your life, my dear friends. This is where true spirituality lies. This is where transformation lies. Good relations don't just protect our bodies, they also protect our brains. That is what science is showing us today. We can completely change the way we lead our life by changing our thought process. We have the power to regulate our genes. We have the power to change our genes. We have the power to transform our genes by changing our own thought process. And that is my second message, my dear friends, that true essence of healing lies with connecting with people. True essence of healing lies with the changing the way the people are learning, the changing the way the people are leading in their life. And that is very wonderful. That is very nice. This is so important. So my third story that I'm going to share with you today is on power of resilience, that how meditation and spiritual practices helps us to be resilient in our life. And I used to play a good badminton in my life. Was a state level badminton player, and one fine day, 21st March 2013, as I was playing badminton, I suffered a major injury and my pars interventricularis got dislocated, fractured, and I could not get up from the floor. And I was dragged to my home with doctors strongly recommending me complete rest. I was put on the bed flat. And I asked them, please repair and fix my spine. I want to be absolutely fine. But they wouldn't tell me. Everybody was telling me, you have to take rest. It's enough. This is not the way things are going to work. But my thought process, my mind was working on a completely different level. And what I was telling them was, please fix my spine. I visualize myself playing badminton again. But they wouldn't listen to me. Days are passing, months passed. I was in bed. I used to call my friends every day, orthopedic news and friends, requesting them to operate. And sooner or later, they even stopped responding to my calls. But my visualization was very clear. Every day, I was visualizing that I'm going to be fine and I'm going to play badminton one fine day. And this not working very well. Ultimately, after a year of long suffering, on 17th January 2014, I got myself forcefully admitted to the hospital. I asked one of my friends to operate on my spine. I told him, this is not the life I would like to lead. I would like to lead a happy and a healthy life. So please operate on my spine. And it was operated on 19th January 2014. And look at this, my picture. On 20th January 2014, first day after my spinal surgery, with a face completely soiled and spoiled. But there was a smile of hope, smile of resilience, smile of joy on my face, because only because of one reason: I knew I'm going to be back again with more power. I'm going to be back again with more and more joy and perseverance. And this was actual pictures of my spine after getting fixed. Look at this, the four screws that have been drilled into my lumbar spine. And I took a discharge from the hospital. Started a good workout, started walking without support, physiotherapy going on, everything. I started improving. 1 month later, I rejoined my hospital. I started operating my patients. My walk percentage was increasing, distance was increasing. And today, after almost 12 years after the surgery, I'm able to walk for almost 16 to 18 kilometers every day. I'm back on my sports with my own thought power. I used to do focus meditation to heal myself. I had a purpose. I had a vision, which was very clear that I have to be back again without any pain. And a very powerful purpose. And that is what I want to tell you, that if you have a why to live in your life, you can bear with almost anyhow. A life without a purpose is like a body without a soul. We need to have a purpose in our life. We need to have a power in our life. Don't just spiral in the problems that life is giving. This is where we all get trapped. And when we are trapped in these difficult situations, we run after the people to help us, we run after God to help us. And we worship God. This is not the way things work. Meditation tells you problems are a part of life, and dealing with them and evolving out of those difficulties is an art of life. This is what, and this is art of living that we have to truly practice. Also, all in our mind. You evolve by your mind, not by your body. You come out of those difficult situations by your own deeper understanding. This is where things are working so beautifully. And this is what I did. So, what I want to tell you, that meditation can empower your brain. Meditation can completely change your brain. It can make you more resilient, more powerful, and you can actually create magic in your life. My fourth story, the story that really taught me the magic of manifestation, that how by your own thoughts you can achieve anything. And this is what we call as a law of attraction. You ask, you believe, and you attract the things in our life. And this is what I used to do in my life. Don't just attract in your life. Whatever you want in your life, just manifest it. I strongly believe that your success is already on its way. The only distance between you and your success is one single thought. That's all. That's all. Nothing more than that. That one single thought can completely change. And when I came back from America to India, I was aspiring to become a cardiologist. And at that time, we had only 5 seats of cardiology. With my teachers and seniors giving exam, I had a very meager chance of clearing cardiology because practically nobody could do it in first attempt at that time. With 5 seats for 10,000 people and all specialist people, my teachers and seniors giving exam, it was a difficult deal. And I started working on my studies from 19th July 2001. I told my mother it's very difficult for me, but I'll give one attempt. If I get cardiology, that's fine. Otherwise, I'll practice as a physician. And she would tell me how many seats are there. And I would say, obviously, there are 5. And she says, how many do you want? I said, I want only one. And she smilingly says to me that that one seat is for you. Look at this. That one seat is for you made all the difference. It completely changed the way I used to look. I went to running to my room and wrote in front of me that one seat of cardiology is for me. It's proven. Nobody can take it away from me. I manifested it. I started living it. And 19th July, I started studying. For only 5 months, I was still working. I gave my exams on a Saturday, I remember, 9 February 2002. Gave my exams, came out, tried to discuss and connect with my friends. None of them are ready to work or discuss the paper with me. Why? Because he's a fresher. It's very difficult. He would even clear or make it to even top 1,000. And disheartened, I came back with them telling me that we will send you a paper by evening so that you can give your exam better next year. You'll get a paper by 6:30 p.m. in the evening. I was disheartened. I pushed my books aside. I was listening to a lovely song. I still remember Hotel California, Eagles. It was just an enjoyable evening. I was just relaxing with no thoughts what is going to happen to my result. I waited for my results for 15 days and the result came. And I had my rank, which was first in the country. I had passed my exam, topped my exam by a percentile of 95%, with second, third, fourth, and fifth rank as 78, 77, 76, and 70%, a large margin. People called it magic. I called it manifestation. Those 5 months, I never had a thought that I'm not going to clear. And as I always said, that this is the power of meditation, that when you glue your intention with imagination, When you glue your intention with imagination and put a do not disturb sign, no power on earth can take away your success from you. And what I want to tell you is whatever you want to create outside, it could be anything. It could be you need a good car. It could be you need a good bungalow. It could be you need happiness. It could be you need great relations. Whatever you need to have or want outside in your life must first be created in your mind. Everything in your life is happening twice. It happens first here and then it takes place outside. Today you have joined webinar. Why? Because first you decided in your mind you are already joining a webinar and then you actually join. This is the power that we are gifted with. This is the magic that we are gifted with, my dear friends. That is what I want to tell you, that today we can create we can create magic in our life by the way we want. We can actually create magic. So whatever you want outside must be created in your mind. The problem that we have is the emotional imbalance, the catastrophic thinking. It may not be, it may not happen. I find my life difficult. I find my life very challenging. I find my life very, very problematic. And sometimes we feel that this is not going to work. But so did I then voice paused or so? Let's see. Okay, just a minute, dear. Okay, share. Is my slides visible? Are they running? Yes or no?
Yes, they are running very well.
Okay, just a minute. This is the technology doldrums that we get. Okay, we go again. Thank you. Yeah. So that is what I want to tell you, that if you want to have a life which is successful, what we need to understand is avoid catastrophic thinking. I keep on telling, even in your mind, never say anything wrong about you or your relations or your work for anyone, for your own self. Your mind is working like a projector. It's like a cooker. It's going to cook everything very well, but everything depends on the ingredients that you are putting in. If you put wrong, it's going to cook, but great cooking, but it's going to be a negative thing. If you put positive thoughts, it's going to cook again, but it's going to give you a life which is full of joy. Magnify it. It's very important. Mind magnifies small image to a 6 feet image. And this is what Raj Yoga meditation tells you, that create positive thoughts everywhere in your life, create magic in your life. My fifth story is on the magic of small change. Life is always a process, it's not an event. If you want to bring change in your life, it has to be like a process. Raj Yoga meditation tells us that great things happen in our life with consistency and not about capacity. So people talk about capacity building workshops. I strongly believe in consistent workshops. It's about consistency. So small changes can actually create miracles. And this is what happened with me. It was 2001 when I had come back from America after my first trip. And at that time, when I came back, my weight was 96 kgs. 97 kgs. I was suffering from thyroid, from hypertension, from diabetes, from fatty liver. And you won't believe this is my actual picture with my friend Manish, in front of Orlando Disneyland. And look at my weight. I was having multiple problems, and it was again 10th July 2001. My uncle came and asked me, Mohit, what are you doing? I said, I am studying for cardiology. And he very politely and gently and spontaneously said, oh, you want to become a cardiologist? You should look like one. And this is what changed my life. His words were like an arrow. They really hurt me. And I thought that I must take a major change. And from 19th July 2001, I completely changed my diet and exercise, changed them from quantity to quality. And I started doing a good workout. From 19th July, every day I was doing a good workout on my body. I was studying also for cardiology. And by 9th February 2002, the day of my exam, I had lost 23 kgs of weight. My diabetes, my hypertension, my thyroid disappeared. I regained my whole personality. That was good achievement, but the great achievement was even till yesterday, every single day I maintain the same schedule in my life. Same schedule. Absolutely. Irrespective of which corner, which part of the world I am in, I will always take out time to do yoga. I will always take out time according to the weather to do a physical exercise, a workout. That is what is important. Consistency is the key. Raj Yoga meditation tells you being consistent can create miracles in your life. So if you want to change, one day meditation or one day thing is not going to work out. No, that's not the way. Oh, I go to this place, I'm reading scriptures, I'm doing. No, practicing that, imbibing that, changing your mind, working on your own self every single day is the crux of transformation, is the magic of transformation that you'll be able to create in your life, my dear friends. My sixth story is about there are no justified resentments. Let me ask each one of you that check yourself. Is your mind working like a sieve or a sponge? If you make your mind work like a sponge, you are going to be troubled by everything. If people control you, if words control you, everything in this world will control you. Let me tell you, if every small thing is working like a prick for you, you are making your mind work like a sponge. And if your mind is working like a sponge, it's going to absorb positive things, but also it is going to absorb negative things. And once we allow negativity to come in, to internalize, we become a victim of their behaviors, of their styles, and we are going to give the remote control of our happiness to them. This is what is happening with each one of us. I am not happy because of the other person. This is happening because of them, because of this situation. This is what is happening. And the simple mantra is make your mind not a sponge, but a sieve. That is where the clarity lies. What does a sieve do? It will filter out what is not needed. It will filter out what is needed. And if we use our mind as a sieve, we will only absorb or internalize what is needed. So don't allow your mind to be like a garbage, my dear friends. That's the mantra. I keep on telling n number of times, million number of times, and I will again repeat today, never internalize the anger. Repeated competition, criticizing people behind, and complaining and having expectations. These eight emotions with which we are living with have completely destroyed our life. You may meditate for hours. You may be spiritual person for decades. You may be going to mosque, to the temples, to the church, to the gurudwaras. You may be taking holy dips. You may be doing everything. But remember, if your mind is full of anger and then if your heart is full of jealousy, you will never be happy or you will never be able to give happiness to others. Raj Yoga meditation takes you to next level and tells you true spirituality does not lie in only reading scriptures. It's about cleaning your own inner self, imbibing those beautiful virtues. Check your mind. Each one of you, right at this moment, check your own inner self. What are the feelings that I harbor, that I decorate in my own mind today? We may be talking great outside, but what is the mechanics? What is going on in my mind is what is important. Let me tell you, for last almost 1 decade, 2 decades, I don't work on words. Language is designed to hide feelings. People may speak something good and positive, but it takes only seconds for us to analyze what is going on in their mind. Language, you can be sweet, but internally your mind can work anything, but vibrations will never lie. Vibrations will never lie. If you work with great and positive vibrations, your relationships are always going to be positive and great. And that is why I ask you to nurture love in your mind, to appreciate people, to accept people, to have compassion for each one of them. That's the beauty. That is what we all need to inculcate in our life, my dear friends. Every day. We are given 1,440 minutes. That means equal opportunities to create a positive and a powerful impact. And let me tell you, meditation is one of the most powerful epigenetic tool that can truly create miracles in our life. Today, if we want to live a life of freedom, if we want to live a life of joy and happiness, meditation is one of the powerful ways. And charging your own mind is very, very important. Charging your own mind with love, with joy, with happiness, with God's peace, purity, with bliss is what is the essence of life. This is what we need. We don't need things. We don't need lectures. We need to be at our peace in our relations, in our own self. We need to be happy in this moment. We need to be pure and loving. This is what is going to make us satisfied. You go to some places for a minute or a 10-minute visit and you can spend 2 hours there, and you go on a dinner at somebody's place and people are so rude. You just come out in 20 minutes. Why? Because it's all about connect, is all about vibrations. Raj Yoga meditation nurtures our soul with God's purity, God's knowledge and love, God's happiness and peace and God's bliss. This is what makes us free, liberated from anxiety, from depression. We keep on holding to these negative situations. Why? It's only overthinking, nothing more than that. If you cook a pudding in a cooker, it's going to heal your body. But let me tell you, if you create a pudding in your mind, it's going to destroy yourself. Check what you are cooking in your mind. I wrote a beautiful article 2 years back, and that article was titled, What Are You Cooking? Inside. Life is all about that. Spirituality tells you to nurture love and peace in your life. And how meditation is working? Simple. You wanted evidence, n number of science. Today I have just given you an introduction. Now today we have scientific evidence that how your thoughts are creating your destiny with the experiments that we have conducted with universities like Harvard in Europe, in Delhi IIT. You have published n number of papers where we have shown that your thoughts are creating your destiny. A normal brain would be an imbalanced brain. And look at this, only 15 to 25 minutes is what gives your brain and makes it into a more emotionally and mentally stable system. It makes you very, very powerful. It makes you free from anxiety and depression. This is what magic can do, my dear friends. Today, don't just work with your left brain, which is analytical. Meditation activates your right brain, makes you into a true karma yogi, makes you into a powerful yogi, that you are working also with your right brain, which is passionate, which is loving, which is creative, which is the one that nurtures and takes care of your left brain also and gives you 100% success, my dear friends. So this is what I wanted to convey to you, that true spirituality lies in changing your own mind. True spirituality is becoming in charge. What is in charge? In means inside, and charge means taking control. In charge of your own thoughts, of the way you are leading your own life. And when are we going to do that? The time is now. Time is now. As I always narrate this beautiful story, and I'll do it again today for you, my dear friends, that a group of people like you went to a wonderful saint and they were of the opinion that when should we meditate in our life? When should we change our life? And his answer was very simple: do it one day before you die. They were happy. One day before we die, that's fantastic. Will we be able to do that? They said, yes, it's more than enough. And one of you turned back and said, but sir, we don't know when are we going to die. And he said that you do it today because tomorrow what is going to happen, we don't know. And that is what my message is, my dear friends. That time is now. If you want to change something, the time is right here at this moment. If you want to change your life, this is the first day of rest of your life. This is my profound message. I keep on giving this message to millions of people across the world, in all the forum, wherever you go. This is something that I love, that today is the first day of rest of your life. Gone is yesterday. I can choose the way I live. I can choose the way I think. I can choose the way I want to be taking care of my own life. And this is where the freedom lies. This is where the abundance lies. This is where the evolution lies. This is where metamorphosis lies. This is where you can evolve into a more beautiful and a lovely human being, my dear friends.